Lincoln Center Theater is the heart of theater in New York City.
It's hard to compute that it's 40 years. It's 40 years.
Lincoln Center Theater is, at its best, a wonderful, wonderful theater. I'm very, very proud of this theater having achieved a 40th anniversary. And I'm proud of it because theater at Lincoln Center, which most people don't remember now, was a very endangered species.
When I first started here, it was called the Vivian Beaumont Theater. The day after Labor Day in 1984, a lot of the board that had been with us for a while ran for the hills.
There was real talk about turning the Beaumont into an indoor skating rink or an indoor garage.
The Beaumont at that time was always known as the Troubled Beaumont. And I didn't want to be the director of the Troubled Beaumont, so I said to Bernie, let's just call ourselves Lincoln Center Theater. And I got a call from the president of Link Inc., Nat Leventhal, who's a wonderful, wonderful guy. And he said, who the hell said you could call yourselves Lincoln Center Theater? And he said, you better be good.
People at Lincoln Center felt that when Bernie Gersten and Gregory Mosher came in, that if they didn't make this work, this would be the end of theater at Lincoln Center.
Early on in those years, it was real survival. We needed to have a successful production that was extended and generated revenue for us to be able to really be sure that we'd be here the next year.
Jerry Zaks, who was our favorite director in those years because he did House of Blue Leaves, he did Anything Goes, and 6 Degrees.
When you try to even begin to get your arms around the extraordinary accomplishments that Lincoln Center Theater has realized over the last 40 years, you really get to a place where you see the hope for how much better we can be as citizens, as human beings.
You know, Lincoln Center Theater is the place where my dreams came true. I had a home where I could work on magnificent shows.
It's really moving to be part of an institution as a director and to feel a home here.
Light in the Piazza for me was the beginning of my dreams coming true. Just being a part of something so magical and so brand new.
My first show here was Light in the Piazza. I remember the first time that the whole thing came together, that we had the set, we had the costumes, we had the lights, the music, and someone came walking through one of the arches in that set in a costume designed by Kathy Zuber, and it sent shivers up my spine.
I know that when I come to Lincoln Center, I'm in to be changed, and that I got to play here at all to start my career. To do The King and I as my Broadway debut has spoiled me for life. Coming to Lincoln Center Theater is like coming home.
My favorite place is downstage center at the Vivian Beaumont Theater, on the stage. But when you're on stage, it feels like you could reach out and touch every single audience member. It is so intimate. When I think of the downstage center, I think of being in South Pacific, and I think of running down with all the sailors and stopping right on a dime, right at the very edge of the stage.
I like to sit on the balcony of the Vivian Beaumont of the lobby and look over the plaza. It moves me every single time.
I was living in New York doing Anything Goes, and my boyfriend proposed to me. And Bernie said to me, get married on the stage. Tony added bits and pieces to the final scene of Anything Goes, which is a wedding scene. And I indeed got married on the stage of the Vivian Beaumont Theater.
I feel like it's been a home away from home, really. And I was here the day that I went into Andre's office to say, I'm gonna have a baby, and we're gonna have to grow the swimming suit and the shorts. And in the left side dressing room, I had both of my children as babies.
I would say Lincoln Center Theater is like family to me. I've had 5 plays at Lincoln Center. A first play is like a first date, a second play is like going steady, a third play is like you're engaged, a fourth play is like marriage, and a fifth play is like a long marriage. And for any institution to commit that way to an artist's career and longevity is a huge, huge thing.
Lincoln Center Theater is my favorite place to work.
To me, there's no place like it. There's nothing like being on this campus.
I strive to do my absolute best because of the environment, because of where I am.
I find it very inspiring and I find it very comforting. And so when you're doing challenging work, it's nice to be able to feel sort of comforted.
Coming here lifts me.
Our board at Lincoln Center Theater is incredibly special. Not only does every single person love the theater, most importantly, they love Lincoln Center Theater.
You know something about this theater that I love, and I tell everybody at every other theater, it's great that when you walk into the offices, you have to walk down that long corridor. And there are a lot of theaters where you're not aware of the staff and that you're all together in this, you know, and I find that one of the healthiest things about Lincoln Center Theater.
Andre said, we need a third theater. I said, Andre, we already got 2. We got the Beaumont and we got the Mincy Newhouse. You need a third? He said, yes. We have to capture young artists, young playwrights, young actors, and give them a forum.
Andre's vision forever had been that we needed a third stage. He worked with, very young and up-and-coming playwrights and nurtured them throughout the course of their career. Wendy Wasserstein, would be a great example of that.
Lincoln Center Theater has really uplifted the voices of many amazing playwrights.
My favorite memory of working here at Lincoln Center was probably the final week of previews for my first show here, Disgraced. And my mom came to New York City to see the show. She had this moment where she, I think, realized what Lincoln Center means and what her son being a playwright means. And it was in a moment I'd never experienced before with her, which was, I think she really felt like she belonged in America somehow.
We have LCT3, so we can foster new work and support new designers, new directors, new actors, new writers.
Lincoln Center takes chances on new artists. Lincoln Center took a chance on me. In Contact, the opening short story took place on a swing. The crew here hung a giant rope swing from the ceiling in the rehearsal room, and I know that they had to reinforce that up there so we didn't bring down the whole ceiling. There's no other place in New York that would build you a swing inside the rehearsal studio hanging from their ceiling. Only Lincoln Center.
We were doing The Coast of Utopia, and I came up with this cockamamie idea. It was a rolling ocean, and suddenly you saw Brian O'Byrne dreaming in a chair, and he would turn around and disappear. They had a production meeting in the basement of Lincoln Center Theater, under the Beaumont. Bernie Gersten, God rest his soul, said at the end, absolutely, what a great idea. Drill a hole in the bottom of the theater. And that's what they did. They drilled a hole in the bottom of the Beaumont so my actor could disappear.
I think this theater at its best is producing plays that nobody else can or will produce. Nobody else would have done Sarafina, the great South African musical, because they didn't have enough money to put 40 people on stage or to rehearse for a year in South Africa. Seeing Sarafina open that first night and seeing those South African teenagers in this room being the musical voice of the anti-apartheid movement, because Mandela was still in prison when we did Serafina. That was mind-blowing.
My favorite memory of working at Lincoln Center Theater was the moment during the Skin of Our Teeth process where we first entered the Vivian Beaumont Theater. 19 of us were making our Broadway debut, seeing the set for the first time, which was like so magnificent. And then Liliana Blaine Cruz, our director, played Started From the Bottom by Drake, and we all just were like dancing in the theater, and it felt like we were living that song.
I'm excited for people who have never been to the theater to suddenly arrive at Lincoln Center and be like, whoa, this is what theater can be?
I'm going to shift to Andre Bishop for a second, okay? Because not many people know what a director does, except for the people in the room or in the production meeting. And basically, a director takes care of everybody. And the question is, who takes care of the director? And that's Andre Bishop. Andre makes sure that I, as director, and the other directors who've been fortunate enough to work here have what they need.
One thing that he said that really moved me is he's like, I feel as an artistic director and as part of this institution that so many of you artists get to fly. Like if this is like the trapeze, you know, I want you to be able to fly, and I want this institution, myself, to be the kind of net so that you can do so safely.
What's special about working at Lincoln Center Theater is very easy, 2 words, Andre Bishop. You have the benefit of his experience, his knowledge, his intelligence, his kindness.
Andre Bishop is a theatrical genius. He's complicated, intelligent, humorous, kind.
I would say that Andre Bishop is loved. He's so revered and loved, and rightfully so.
I think Andre Bishop is a true friend of women artists.
You know, when I think of Andre Bishop, I think of somebody who enabled me to have a career, to be honest. He produced our first show.
And Andre always had in mind, I am at my heart a talent scout, identifying what is great in the history of theater to adapt to the new world. A talent scout in terms of finding the best talent to write new plays.
One thing that I'll never forget about Andre is that he changed the landscape for Asian American artists. King and I was pivotal in how people see Asian Americans on stage.
When I think of Andre, I think of how intuitive he was about giving notes. He knew the 3 or 4 things that were very important that he needed to get across, and he found the right way and said them in a very kind way.
It's not just what you say, it's how you say it, and most particularly when you say it.
Here's an Andre note to me on one of our shows. Lynn, it's a beautiful pudding with too many raisins.
He came to invited dress, and he pulled me aside. He said, you know, your play's wonderful, but I think you need a joke at the top of the first act. I wrote a joke and we put it at the top. It changed the entire response of the audience.
He's one of the greatest producers we ever had, is a very strong spine and point of view on how to support an artist and how to help an artist. And he's really the best at that.
It would be hard to overstate the impact that Andre's had on American theater. He has nurtured generations of artists over a very long period of time in an incredibly supportive way. As I look back now over these last decades, I realize that these shows would not have happened without Andre.
I hope the core values of Lincoln Center Theater are preserved faithfully, and by that I mean the support and nurturing and love of artists who work here, the atmosphere that is created for the staff and for the board and for the audience when they come, and the devotion to new American plays and musicals. I hope that continues very, very much.
I have great confidence that Lincoln Center Theater will continue to be very strong in the not-for-profit theater world and a leader.
I'm excited for Lincoln Center in the next 10 years to grow and transform in ways that it didn't know it could.
I think Lincoln Center uniquely in the next 5 to 10 years will hopefully be able to take its place as one of the most important theaters in the entire world.
I'm incredibly excited about the next 10 years ahead of Lincoln Center Theater. We're the best now, we're going to be even better moving forward. It's our mission to bring exceptional theater to life on the stage. We can only do that if we continue to be the home for brilliant artists and the next generation of artists.